Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my Week 6 upset special. These are games that I think could or will be upsets, or they're just games that many people are thinking they're going to be upsets, and I wanted to talk about them. The first thing I do want to mention, I don't have this game included, but when it comes to the MAC, a lot of the models, a lot of things I've seen, like Miami of Ohio to win at home against Kent State. They are 5-point underdogs. I just wanted to say that I do not have that included. I don't know enough about either of those teams to give you an analysis on that or anything like that, but I do just want to say a lot of the models have that. When it comes to this noon game, Tennessee and LSU, guys, I think Tennessee is winning this game. Right now, they're around 3-point favorites. I think that line dropped a little bit to 2.5 at one point, but I just don't think Jaden Daniels is good enough to upset Tennessee. Tennessee understands they have the better quarterback, and they understand they've got Alabama, they've got Georgia coming up. They know they need to win this game. LSU, in my opinion, should not be ranked, even though they are 4-1, I believe. I don't think they should be ranked. I have Tennessee holding serve on the road, avoiding a major catastrophic upset. If Tennessee loses this game, you've still got Alabama and Georgia, and I think Kentucky and maybe one other game as well. It could get really bad for Tennessee really fast. They know they must win this game. I think right now they've got more overall talent than LSU, which is pretty crazy to say. They've got the better quarterback by far. They go on the road. It's going to be close. It's going to be an agonizing game to watch if you're a Tennessee or an LSU fan. For all the rest of us, it'll be a fun game, but I like Tennessee possibly on a walk-off field goal to get the win and stay undefeated. The next game, I do think this will be an upset. It's Georgia Tech at home against Duke. Duke listed right now as 3-point favorites, and I just think this is a Georgia Tech team that is going to build some momentum off of their major upset win last week against Pittsburgh, where they were 22-point underdogs. They go on the road, and when they fired their head coach, they're able to galvanize and get some momentum. And guys, do we really trust Duke football? I know Duke has done some things. They've got a decent offense, whatever. I just don't trust them to continue winning. I think Georgia Tech uses the momentum they gained last week. They've got a good enough rushing attack. This is teams are similar in terms of overall talent. Georgia Tech at home, I think the wrong team is favored. I would say Georgia Tech should be a 3-point favorite. I believe they win this game outright and get a little upset there. The next game, it's going to be Army at Wake Forest. So I view this game as a major scare for Wake Forest. Yes, Army, not very good this year. I believe they're 1-3, but they're good enough. It's not like Army is a horrible team like Akron. They could put a scare into a team if you kind of look past them. You're looking at a Wake Forest team coming off a very emotional win. How about back-to-back emotional games? The home game against Clemson, you lose that in overtime. And then you go on the road and beat and beat FSU. You totally control that game. You're coming back home, 7:30 game, not going to be a huge crowd. Everyone thinks you're 17-point favorites. You're going to win this game easily. I see Army using ball control and really keeping this game close. I think Wake Forest wins, but I'll take Army plus the 17. Wake Forest will not be motivated for this game. They just came off 2 emotional games. Also, they could possibly be looking ahead. This is like a break in their schedule. This is exactly when it happens in terms of potential upsets. You just played 2 emotional games. You're looking ahead. You get a break against an Army team that's really not as bad as their record says they are. This has all the makings of an upset or at least a scare. I've got it at 27-24 to Wake Forest. The next game, BYU at Notre Dame. So I'm sure a lot of people were shocked when the initial line was released. Notre Dame, the favorites. BYU right now ranked 16th in the country. Notre Dame is unranked. They didn't even receive a vote in the last AP poll. But this is a neutral site game, and Notre Dame listed as 3.5-point favorites. Why is that, you ask? Well, guys, BYU is severely overrated by the general public. People also overreacted to Notre Dame's early season struggles. Yes, it was a horrible loss to Marshall, but it was just one game. They come back, they rebound, they win 2 games, including getting a very impressive win on the road at North Carolina, and they scored 42 points. Then they get a bye week, so they get 2 full weeks to prepare for BYU. I like Notre Dame. Surprising to cover this spread. I'm guessing there's a lot of people betting value on BYU, considering they're ranked 16. Notre Dame is unranked. But guys, BYU struggled with Utah State. Utah State is horrible. They struggled with Wyoming. Wyoming's not very good. They just lost to San Jose State. This is a very, unfortunately, flawed BYU team, and I love BYU. When they beat Baylor, they made me look great. I appreciate that. But this is a situation where the general public overreacts to Notre Dame's early season struggles. This is a team that was able to hold down Ohio State's offense to 21 points. Yes, it was a horrible loss to Marshall, but they've rebounded. They've still got more talent than BYU. They've got 2 weeks to prepare. This is a neutral site game. I really like Notre Dame to, I think, surprise a lot of people. And people would be surprised by this result, even though they are 3.5-point favorites due to the current AP rankings and just how their season has gone. The next potential upset, we have another Big 12, Kansas State at Iowa State. Kansas State listed right now as 2-point favorites. And guys, to me, this is just a situation where I don't think a good coach is going to lose 3 games in a row. Matt Campbell at home will eke out a close win. This Iowa State team started 3-0. They're 3-2 currently. Kansas State, they've gotten some big wins, but guys, that win that they got against Oklahoma looks a little bit less impressive when we see what Oklahoma and how they performed against TCU. Also, it is important to note Kansas State and their offense got completely shut down by Tulane and lost to Tulane at home. So I view this as a typical Big 12 parity game. Iowa State's not losing 3 games in a row. Kansas State might be a little overrated. Kansas State did win last week at home against Texas Tech. They won, I think, by like 8 or 9 points, which is what the spread was. So, that's a good win there. But still, Texas Tech is one of the, bottom tier teams in the Big 12. Iowa State's a little bit better. Iowa State's also at home. 7:30 game, I believe, on ESPNU. Expect low scoring, very low scoring in this game. Matt Campbell and his team eke it out 20-18. The next potential upset, it's going to be Oregon at Arizona. Guys, at some point you would think Oregon would trip up and they would lose a game, and Arizona at home in this spot with their offense, I think Arizona possibly can do this and actually upset Oregon. Also, another Pac-12 game that I'm watching, Arizona State and Washington. Guys, one of 2 of these games will be upsets. Either, maybe both, but at least one of 2. Either Arizona State's gonna beat Washington at home, or Arizona is gonna beat Oregon, or both things happen, and we get a little daily double. Something's gonna happen in the Pac-12. Also, you have Washington State at USC. I think USC wins that game personally. But I know, USC has been really inconsistent. USC is a team that's gotten extremely lucky in terms of turnover luck. And that's probably going to change, but I do think they get that win at home because they are at home in the Coliseum against Washington State. But there could be some major upsets this week in the Pac-12. And then I do want to quickly mention the other major Pac-12 game, the UCLA-Utah game. I do not think that will be an upset. I think Utah will hold serve on the road as 3.5-point favorites and win that game and cover the 3.5. on the road at UCLA. That's a parity game. I understand Utah has that major injury to their tight end. That is horrible. But this Utah team, I've said it before, it's like James Madison. They're on a warpath right now. They came into the season and said, minimum, we're going to the Rose Bowl. Minimum. And they know if they want to go to the Rose Bowl, if they want a chance at the playoffs, after losing week 1, we've seen them completely destroy everyone. I think Utah beats UCLA, and then UCLA is a team, the reason they're undefeated is due to their horrible non-conference schedule, guys. Let's just call it what it is. I kind of troll and I say it's a gauntlet and everything like that. And honestly, South Alabama is better than people think they are. They're like the 66th or 67th best team, which I feel like people don't realize that. South Alabama's not bad, but still, UCLA won that game on a walk-off field goal at home. I think UCLA loses to Utah at home. So there are some major Pac-12 matchups, but guys, at some point, you would think that, we saw the game against Washington State. We thought that was the week. We thought it was happening. You're up by, 15 points with a minute left and you lose. It's like, what? I don't know how that happens. But either way, Arizona and their offense, take a look at Arizona State's quarterback, take a look at Arizona's quarterback. He's thrown for 350 yards per game. Prolific offense, the University of Arizona. I think they get it done, and that is my final potential upset. Guys, once again, the other game that I would say that I didn't list is the MAC game. It is Kansas State possibly losing as 5-point road favorites to Miami of Ohio, and that is strictly based off of models. I do not have an opinion on that. But I've just seen literally every model. There's significant disagreement with that line. Many of the models think that Miami of Ohio should actually be favorites. And then the other game would be Buffalo over Bowling Green. But Buffalo is now the favorite to win that game anyways. Bowling Green opened -2 or -1 or something like that. Now Buffalo is -2. So guys, those are my top Week number 6, possible upset alert predictions. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.